side. But that is still 10 seconds or 4 seconds rather each arrow. So if ever LNR tries to go for this contest, they're basically just gonna pinpoint onto that Varus, gets the kill, and the NRX doesn't have any more pokes available for their team. Their ADC is just gonna be wiped out. And the problem with a Varus in the current meta is he doesn't have any way of escaping when it comes to team fights. Because if you're thinking about other ADCs, you have a Jinx, for example, you have Root. Right, you have a Root that could have fast cooldown. You have the passive that have extra movement speed. When you're talking about a Saya, you have the Feather Storm as well that has an invulnerable time frame for her to actually go away. So I think that is the problem with a Varus, and I'm actually very excited to see on how Varus is going to be played out and executed in this game number 2 of NRX versus LNR.
And in this game number 2, I think I have a feeling that NRX is gonna, this time, they're not just gonna go in one by one. They're gonna fully commit to it, because all of the champions that they've picked, you have to fully commit when you're going to do a gank, or you're going to do a clash or a skirmish. I can see that they're probably gonna do something along those lines. And while the red side, you have Luna Neris, Shyvana, you have Luna Neris, Akali, which we saw earlier in the earlier game that their Akali was actually super scary as well.
Yeah. And that's the problem. If Akali just gets the early game, and when you get the Hextech Gunblade or the Leandris, it's basically damage output. But now it's going to be Nera going in for that 5-man dive. And that is the first blood going to the side of LNR. And when you have a Braum to your team, that is going to be expected. And NRX at a level 1, you still don't have the massive setups from that Malphite. You don't have the damage output of a Wukong. You only have the potential of the Aurelion Soul with the Star Surge to stun, wherein LNR has a lot of things to actually beat you down. So I think that was a smart move by LNR, considering they have the early power spike, they've gotten the first blood, and now they're sitting at a 1k gold lead.
And I think the focus, or the idea to focus on the Aurelion Soul, was actually pretty smart. Because if Aurelion Soul was left to his own devices and he was able to feed and build up so many of his items, he will be a force to reckon with. And I think that's something that Luna Nera is trying to avoid as well.
Yeah. So with the first blood going in for the side of Luna Nera, it's basically NRX going to have a disadvantage in the first couple of minutes, first couple of seconds in the laning stages. They're probably just going to be poked out by a Jinx. They're probably just going to be dominated by a Braum in terms of the Dragon lane. And when you're talking about the mid lane, you also have the yellow card of a Twisted Fate, which was buffed up in the prior patch, in the patch before then, wherein the yellow card stuns for like 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, which is actually very, very big. And when you're talking about that Aurelion Soul, that Star Surge needs to actually fully come through for that stun, for that massive play. And when you have a Twisted Fate for the enemy team, it's basically a dare counter right now. And that shield, that barrier, tried to save Aurelion Soul's life, but that poke from Jinx was phenomenal. And they've gotten another extra kill for their team. Now they're sitting at 2.4k gold lead.
Yes, and most of the kills is actually going into their ADC, their Jinx. So Jinx, when Jinx is able to collect all of the items that she needs, or is able to build at least one of her primary items before the enemy ADC, she's already difficult to fight against or to lane against with. Especially when all of her skills are already up. You can just have like 4 combos and then done. You will be pushed back into your lane. And now we can see that Varus and Lulu is actually finding it a bit difficult, because now they're just staying near their towers. It's going to be hard for them to take a gamble to just go all out on that Jinx and Braum on the bot lane without any help at this point in the game.
Yeah. And with the Aurelion Soul, Shyvana actually coming through into the mid lane. There's no ability right now for Aurelion Soul as it has been used by herself. So 3 minutes right now into the game, we're expecting some resets to come through to get those items up and running, and to potentially go for team fight, then go for resets, and then go for the dragon. But right now into the mid lane, you just have some little bit of trade-offs. You just have some pokes running through. It's just a bit of a pressure, and LNR has the benefit of getting that 2-kill lead against NRX, and they're basically just gonna dominate when it comes to the poking game. With 3 minutes and 30 seconds right now in the time span, we're expecting all resets to come through. It's now gonna be the items running through the sides of LNR and for the side of NRX at the same way, because the dragon is gonna be very important, and LNR has the benefit of resetting first before NRX.
And now we can see that the dragon has already started to spawn, and everyone in LNR is already in the dragon pit. They're trying to get this dragon, while the rest of NRX is going to try and contest this dragon. Now we are going to see another skirmish here near the dragon pit. Everyone is trying to fall back in. Everyone is trying to go in to this dragon, but now NRX is able to push them out. And I think NRX is going to attempt to get this dragon. So this is a good turnaround compared to previous game. But now NRX has fully committed into that slaying that Twisted Fate, and now they're also going to go in for the other members of LNR. But sadly, that was also difficult, and the red team has secured majority of the kills for this, and now they're also going to secure the dragon as well.
That Glacial Fissure just made space for the side of LNR to go and make kills. Akali was basically dominating into the sidelines. It was a 2-man knock-up from that Braum, which was actually quite massive. And I like how LNR, tried to bait out with the Twisted Fate, go for the stun onto the Lulu, and basically at that point they were low at HP. So LNR had the advantage in terms of that aspect in that fight. And when you have that early engagement, that Jinx could just get a lot from a passive that's gonna be popped to another kill to another kill. And right now, they've secured 4 more kills in that engagement in terms of a 1 kill for the side of NRX against Twisted Fate.
Yes, and that's right. As we talked about in the first game, when there is a possibility of one champion just doing the baiting out, no, it's one of those strategies that's actually difficult to do, because when you bait out, you're going to risk you yourself, your champion, dying and giving your enemy team gold. But for this case, Twisted Fate's sacrifice was actually the key to allow his team to take on everything else and everyone else in the in NRX.
Oh, Malphite with a massive ult. It's a 2-man knock-up. It's now going to be the follow-up coming through. It's Twisted Fate TPing into the backside. It's now going to be the 2-man down for NRX. Shyvana now trying to reach up. It's Aurelion Soul connecting into 2 with the ultimate. It's the knock-up. Now it's Braum actually falling down with that poke as well. So that was basically a 2-for-1. Although, do take note, that was a jungler and a Baron laner for a mere support from LNR. So that is still to the advantage of Nera in that fight. And right now, they're setting at 8k gold lead. And I don't know what they can't do at this point, because they have the massive item advantage. And now, the Rift Herald is still up. It's something that NRX Amazons needs to actually get because of their heavy deficit in this current game. So I'm expecting them to contest this one, or maybe then go for a trade in terms of turrets. But LNR having the dominance into the Rift Herald's pit, they're gonna have to contest this, and they're probably gonna take this. Although we have NRX going to the backside, Rift Herald is going to the side of Nera, forced to flash away. Aurelion Soul going back, and that is a Rift Herald for LNR.
We can see here that LNR was able to maximize their early game advantage, and now they're just taking kill after kill, objective after objective, and now they're already pushing NRX's turrets, and they've managed to take actually the top lane turret, the outer top lane turrets, and the outer bottom lane turrets as well. So it's just a matter of this lane pressure getting into NRX and them being unable to come back, especially with so much advantage on the side of LNR.
Yeah, absolutely. 10k gold lead right now for Nera. It's just too much of a gold. And actually, we could check some items right now. It's Infinity Edge and Runan Sirkin already for that Jinx. That's basically massive outputs. And that Runan Sirkin, yes, it is an item that is actually kind of weak when you're talking about ADCs. But that actually allows that Jinx to get a hold of a lot of members for NRX simultaneously and get those assists up and running for the passive to come through. And that damage is going to scale out. And considering you also have Infinity Edge for as her first item, it's basically massive damage already coming through as well. So 50% crit rate, a lot of crit damage running through the veins of that Jinx. And when you have a Shyvana already with the Trinity Force and that Gargoyle Enchant, and you also have the Rift Herald still available for your team, this is going to be a massive play. They could put it out, bait out NRX into defending their turrets, and that would be the Infernal Drake for their team. Or what they could do is also to go for ganks to get a kill, to then go for the Infernal Drake, get it, and that would scale out Shyvana's items through damage for his Dragon Breath. But right now, it's going to be Wukong going for that Cyclone to set up a play. They're trying to put up a fight. Wukong diving through. That was actually a mistake from you. You have 1 HP remaining, and you still went through. It's Shyvana now dominating the fight. It's a flash, and Varus falls down. It's going to be the 3 kills, and NRX doesn't have anything remaining for their team as LNR will secure the Infernal Drake.
Yes, and we saw the tactic that you mentioned earlier. They can just use the Rift Herald to bait out NRX, and they did take the bait. We were able to see that wonderful matchup, that wonderful skirmish, and that wonderful clash. And now we have Nera's Shyvana with all of those dragons, and Nera with all of those advantages as well from the previous matches, or from the previous skirmishes. So now they're going to take control of NRX's side of the jungle, taking in their buffs, taking in almost all of their items as well. And then now we can see them that they're slowly moving up towards the Baron lane. Perhaps they're going to go for a Baron after probably a short reset, or they're going to do a setup for the Baron before they start to take this one as well, because they know NRX is going to have a difficult time to try and contest this Baron from them. However, if NRX, or if LNR makes a mistake while taking this Baron, it can go towards NRX.
Although they're avoiding this mistake to happen. Shyvana respects NRX at this point. They're not going in for that 1v5 type of play that they might potentially do because of the advantage. So they're just chilling down for now, waiting for his teams to actually come up in terms of a team fight to then go for the fight. And now, with the vision still up for NRX and for LNR, they have the knowledge on what time it's gonna be for that Baron Nashor being executed by any of these teams. And with that knowledge, they're just gonna chill for now. They're gonna back off, and NRX is just forced to defend while Twisted Fate is actually split pushing into the Baron lane. But we have Braum and Jinx actually sitting around aside from the bush, and this might be a potential play going to the side of LNR.
And the good thing about this is that LNR knows when to pull back and when to start. And here we have the Twisted Fate. He's going in together with that Braum, and then you have the Shyvana as well going in. Everyone is just, oh my gosh, and that stun, that knock-up was also nice. And then we have this, and the Jinx was able to take down most of the enemy team and has now reached godlike. So that was actually the potential skirmish that you were talking about. And now we also have the Baron that's going to go to LNR. So I think NRX is really gonna have to defend really hard if they are going to try to take a shot at winning this part of the game.
And that's not just about it. If you're looking at the wave control running in this game, it's basically Nera with all waves pushing in from the Dragon lane, mid lane, top lane. So with that Baron buff, it's actually just pretty massive for their team, considering that NRX Amazons rather has the disadvantage in terms of the wave control. So right now, Nera securing that Baron Nashor is actually pretty huge. It's gonna give them advantage in terms of this running wave control. And with the items up and running, you have 20k gold lead, and what can't you buy? You have 2 to 3 core items advantage against NRX at this point. And I think the only possible way for NRX to actually try and win this fight is to decimate everyone for the side of LNR, remove every Baron buff, and go for the wipeout without any of themselves getting killed, which I think is highly unlikely. likable. So right now, it's going to be NRX actually getting pinned down. Varus actually says bye-bye with Luna following through. It's going to be the two-man shot down for the side of Luna and Nera. And Star Surge actually just tries to go for the defensive play, but it's not gonna be enough as Braum actually dives. The Glacial Fissure connects to. It's gonna be the two-man knock-up, and the wave control is pushing in. Inhibitor turret goes down. It's gonna be the base race for LNR. They're trying to finish the game. It's gonna be a huge set. The Shyvana diving through. It's gonna be the 1 kill. It's gonna be the 2 kill, and Malphite gets stunned by LNR, and that will be game number 2 with Luna Nera taking the lead.
Luna and Nera was just really, they didn't want to take any more chances. They didn't want to wait out or like leave NRX with a bit of a fighting chance. No, they just really, they've decided to commit to this, and they've decided that, you know what, we have the advantage, we have the buffs,